Now we return to local news with Audrey.
Councillors have rejected a restaurant's bid to stay open later after warnings about noise. Gazan Restaurant in High Street, Ponders End, applied to Enfield Borough Council to serve food until 2:45 a.m. every day of the week and sell alcohol until midnight. The Ponders End restaurant currently closes at midnight, and owner Yusuf Karpuz requested a later closing time. But the Council's Trading Standards Department told a subcommittee that granting a later closing time would not comply with Edmonton's cumulative impact policy, which states that food cannot be served after midnight at a restaurant in the area. Officers also argued that since opening 3 months ago, noisy stuff had been causing a nuisance to neighbours, and the restaurant's extractor fan was causing noise and smoke. Mr. Karpuz has since paid £30,000 of his own money to pay for a new extractor fan, but this was not enough to see the application granted. He cited the example of a restaurant nearby that was an exception to the policy, but councillors ruled Gazan should continue to close at midnight. Subcommittee Chairman, Councillor Derek Levy, said, "The panel was not persuaded that the applicant had demonstrated an understanding of the relevant policy or how it impacted on their application." Mr. Levy also pointed towards an incorrect layout given in the application, which in itself is a criminal offence. He added, "The licensing subcommittee agrees that the premise is not being properly and efficiently managed."
A businessman and Dragon's Den winner has won an award at the inaugural Great British Entrepreneur Awards. Laban Rooms of Enfield made a name for himself after appearing on the BBC programme to gain investment for his gold plating business in 2007. Since then, his business, Gold Genie, has boomed, and he has designed gold-plated luxury items for Usain Bolt, Sir Elton John and David Beckham. Mr. Rooms won a bronze award as a runner-up in the Manufacturing Entrepreneur of the Year category. The 43-year-old said, "I'm genuinely proud to be the recipient of this bronze award at such a prestigious event and among so many inspirational entrepreneurs. Business ownership and enterprise is the lifeblood of Britain, and so it's great to finally have a national annual event where those who brave the world of business can be celebrated. It hasn't been an easy journey, and so to receive recognition at this level makes it all truly worth it. This will be the second business award for the entrepreneur this year. He was named Real Life Entrepreneur of the Year at the London Federation of Small Businesses Awards in June. Simon Burton, founder of the Great British Entrepreneur Awards, said, "This has been a wonderful first year for the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. True entrepreneurs are as much about their story as they are about their balance sheet. The awards celebrate the truly inspirational entrepreneurs who are the agents of positive change in our country."
Vulnerable homeowners who are more exposed to the elements at this time of year are being offered the chance to fix their heating before the cold sets in. Energy company nPower's Health Through Warmth scheme will be available to people who have a long-term cold-related illness, a low income with little or no savings, and who are unable to buy a new boiler. The scheme allows anyone to apply, not just nPower customers. Scheme manager Elaine Midwinter said, "Many homeowners don't give a second thought to their boiler until temperatures drop. In wintry conditions, being without heating can have an impact on health and well-being, which is why we are encouraging anyone who thinks that they, or someone they know, may be eligible for help from the scheme to get in touch to find out more. For more information, go to www.healththroughwarmth.com.
The College of Haringey, Enfield and North East London's Games Development learner Audrey Ferreira has won the silver medal at this year's World Skills UK final, which was held at the NEC in Birmingham this month. Audrey competed against 9 other finalists out of more than 200 entries from over 38 UK colleges over 3 days to bring back his well-earned and coveted prize of a silver medal. Earlier in the year, Audrey won a speed modelling competition, competing against 50 other games development learners across London. Audrey, 17, who formerly attended Parkview Academy, where he studied IT, joined the college last year. Audrey says of his award, "The skills I picked up during the competition were amazing, and it has made me a much better modeller. I also learned that you need to be very flexible to meet deadlines. It was a unique event, and if I could do it again, I would." The college's games design course gives students industry standard skills in the development of computer games. Learners study games design, 3D modelling and games environments so that they can create games of their own from an initial idea to the final product. Students learn how to use industry standard software as used on films such as Avatar and Toy Story. Students also create their own 3D computer games using the Unity 3D games engine. Jane O'Neill, Interim Principal and Chief Executive, adds, "The college has an excellent track record in games design and animation, putting us at the forefront of colleges nationally. I'm thrilled that Audrey won silver, and I'm sure he has a great career ahead of him." Last year, the college also featured award-winning students at WorldSkills UK. Dominic L'Esprit brought back bronze, and Michael Elisheku was highly commended for the quality of their work in games design.
Oh, that's good. A host of talented teenagers were presented with their Duke of Edinburgh Gold Awards in regal surroundings. St James's Palace in London was the host for the 11 young people from Enfield to take centre stage and receive their awards from Channel 4 newsreader Jon Snow. To gain a Gold Award, applicants must complete 5 sections: volunteering skills, physical, expedition and residential, all in 1 year of their school life. Not only did the winners meet the broadcaster, they were also greeted by His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh in the throne room of the palace. Angela Chrysanthou, 19, who is now studying at Loughborough University after winning her award, admitted it was a surreal day, but so very special at the same time. She said, "Being in the presence of the patron, His Royal Highness the Duke of Edinburgh, in the beautiful throne room of St James's Palace, made the tough Gold Award treks even more worthwhile. I felt very special to be presented with my certificate by Jon Snow, who showed a genuine interest in each individual award and asked us about our most memorable experiences during our Gold Award. During our experience, a special bond was formed with the other team members, and it was great to meet up with them again, together with our group leader, to share this wonderful day. I will look back on this amazing time with a tremendous pride and a great sense of achievement." Councillor Bambos Jaralambos, Enfield Borough Council's Cabinet Member for Young People, said, "The 11 young people who achieved their Gold Duke of Edinburgh Awards are a credit to Enfield. It is wonderful that we have so many young people participating in such a worthwhile scheme in their free time, and which results in great personal development for them too, as they put themselves to the test."
Football memorabilia, memory cards and a DVD have been produced as part of an intergenerational learning project in conjunction with Enfield Town Football Club. The Beth Johnson Foundation, the Football Club, Enfield Age UK, Kingsmead School, George Spicer School and volunteers took part in the lottery-funded Enfield Football Tells celebration project. Those involved have been invited to view the final pieces tomorrow, including a specially made DVD which features interviews from 1955 right up to the present day. Susanna Iani, project coordinator at the Beth Johnson Foundation and Age UK Enfield, said, "Some people respond better when they are able to actually hold something. So we have numerous items, including old football boots from the 1950s, that people can look at and compare with more modern designs. For older people, this can help to trigger memories and conversation, evoking powerful emotions and feelings, which can help to create a discussion between the generations. Other pieces on show at the Queen Elizabeth Stadium in Donkey Lane, where Enfield Town play their home games, will be boxes containing items associated with football for people to handle for discussion purposes, as well as double-sided memory cards filled out by volunteers depicting their memories of sport as a conversation starter. One of the many aims behind the project was to build on and strengthen relationships between generations in the community. Ms. Wyani added, "It is about breaking down the social and cultural barriers in Enfield across the generations. Research has shown that young people enjoy interacting with older people, and it can help stop them from feeling isolated within their own community. While the project is only on show to those who have taken part in it, the pieces are to be handed over to schools, community groups and organisations to use. If the pieces prove to be popular, there could be an opportunity for them to go on display to the public."
Staff and patients at Chase Farm Hospital have taken to YouTube to inject a little Christmas spirit into their efforts to boost take-up of the flu vaccine. As part of a campaign to promote the benefits of the vaccination, the Trust has released an adaptation of Mariah Carey's seasonal classic, "All I Want for Christmas Is You." Singer Jennifer Redston from Finchley teamed up with medical and administrative staff and patients to record "I Don't Want a Christmas with Flu." All hospital trusts in England are aiming to vaccinate at least 75% of their staff against flu this winter. The YouTube video, which includes the lyrics, "I don't want the flu this Christmas. There is just one jab I need. It will help combat the presence of this seasonal disease," has attracted more than 6,000 hits so far on the video sharing website. A spokeswoman for the Barnet and Chase Farm Trust said, "It's an important campaign because flu can be passed on to others, even by those who show no symptoms themselves. It can affect even seemingly healthy people who rarely get ill. Seasonal absence due to flu also has an adverse impact on staffing levels." Miss Redston said, "It has been great fun and a real honour to work with the Trust on a campaign such as this, and I hope it has the impact they require."
Two churches have said farewell to a minister and loyal servant of the church for 38 years. Reverend David Atkinson has been a minister in the United Reformed Church, URC, since 1975, and the minister of Christ Church in Chaseside, Enfield, and Lancaster Road, URC, since March 2004. Some 200 people attended a farewell service at the Lancaster Road Church to wish him a fond farewell. He said, "I have spent a little over 38 years in the ministry and nearly 10 years as minister of Christ Church and Lancaster Road. I want to say thank you for the privilege of being minister of Christ Church and Lancaster Road, and thank you for all your friendship, which has been very much appreciated. I am grateful to God for having had the privilege and opportunity to preach, teach, share and live the gospel in the church and in the wider community." Mr. Atkinson was presented with a wristwatch and laptop as retirement gifts. He will be returning to his hometown of Lancaster. Church member Tom Borman said, "David has worked tirelessly for Christ Church, Lancaster Road and the local community in Enfield over the past 10 years, so the farewell service and tea was a fitting way to say goodbye to him and thank him for everything he has done. It was lovely to see so many people there, as David's ministry over the last 38 years has touched many lives in many different ways. He will be missed by many."
Lovely. The leader of a campaign group believes that a £10 million increase in spending on healthcare in Enfield will barely scratch the surface. Monty Meth, Vice President of Enfield Over 50s Forum, feels that the news of an increase in funding will not go very far in solving primary care problems in our borough. The group is currently running a petition to see more money given to healthcare in Enfield, and they have so far collected nearly 4,000 signatures. Prime Minister David Cameron has stated that Enfield primary care funding would go up following the closure of Chase Farm Hospital, key maternity and accident and emergency services. Mr. Meth said, "The Clinical Commissioning Group, which runs the healthcare in the borough, gets £330 million a year. Currently, giving £10.6 million extra is barely scratching the surface of the problem that we have in Enfield. It is a 3% rise in funding, which is far, far lower than what this borough needs. It does not come anywhere near what we need to bridge the widening problems we have. It does not penetrate the lack of health funding and is barely about the rate of inflation. We hope that our continued campaign for greater healthcare will show the government that so much more is needed to bring Enfield's care up to standard." Mr. Cameron was answering a question from Enfield Southgate MP David Burrows during Prime Minister's question time, when he said the government will increase health funding in our borough. Speaking in the House of Commons, Burrows asked, "Will the Prime Minister confirm that Enfield is getting increased primary care funding and that Chase Farm Hospital is getting 24/7 access to urgent care?" Mr. Cameron replied, "I understand that the Barnet, Enfield and Harrogate strategy has been approved, and once it has been implemented, Chase Farm Hospital will provide a service giving access to GPs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Enfield is also getting an increase in primary care funding. That is part of our plan of not cutting but expanding our NHS." Speaking after the session, Mr. Burrows said, "I was pleased to hear the Prime Minister confirm the increased primary care funds and 24/7 access to urgent care at Chase Farm. We need to keep the pressure up to get the best for Enfield's health care. Public health funding for Enfield currently equates to £36 per head, which is dwarfed by that £128 for Westminster and £126 allocated to Kensington and Chelsea. This also compares unfavourably to neighbouring boroughs such as Harringay, which receives £52 per head." Enfield North MP Nick Dubois said, "For the past 15 years, Enfield has had some of the most unfair levels of public spending allocated by government, given the levels of need across the borough. The last government was quite simply refused to accept that Enfield was changing and needed more funding to address the vast health inequalities across the borough. Sadly, if you live in parts of the east of the borough, your life expectancy can be 12 years less than fellow residents in the west. This year we achieved a real win for Enfield through a cross-party local campaign when the government awarded a 10% increase in public health funding, among the highest increase for any local authority in the country. The leader of Enfield Council, Councillor Doug Taylor, said, "We are strongly in favour of increased health funding in Enfield, and we support the Over 50s Forum in its campaign to lobby the government for greater investment in health service in Enfield."
A thief took a woman's iPhone in a knife-point robbery at an Enfield station. The 24-year-old woman was at Southbury Station, Enfield, when she was approached by a man pointing a knife at her. He demanded that she hand over the phone, and fearing for her own safety, she dropped the phone and ran towards the station platform and alerted other passengers. The man picked up the phone and left through the main entrance to the station. British Transport Police are investigating the theft, which happened on Sunday, October the 20th, at approximately 7:30 p.m. Detective Constable Paul Cudby, the investigating officer, said, "Robberies of this nature can be extremely frightening for the victim. We will continue to carry out our inquiries, speaking to witnesses. I'd urge anyone who recognises this man to come forward. Anyone with information is asked to contact British Transport Police on 0800 40 50 40, quoting background reference B11/LNA of 18th of November 2013. Information can also be passed to the independent charity Crime Stoppers anonymously on 0800 555 111.
Brian Hammett hailed the efforts of the Enfield Town players after they suffered an agonising 4-3 defeat at home to high-flying Dulwich Hamlet in the Ryman Premier Division. Hammett and his father Peter were taking charge of the side for the first time since they were appointed as caretaker managers following the departure of Steve Newing earlier this month. It initially looked as if Town could be heading for another heavy defeat as 2 Erhan Oztumer goals put the visitors in control. But Dulwich had Dean Lodge dismissed for lashing out at Liam Hope shortly before the interval, and the hosts came storming back in the second period, with Hope and Anton Olondo scoring to get them back on level terms. However, Dulwich regained the lead as Oztumer completed his hat-trick with a penalty which led to the sending off of Town skipper Mark Kirby, and Xavier Vidal added a 4th before Tyler Campbell pulled one back for the hosts late on. I contacted all the players on Sunday to tell them I felt gutted for them, but really proud of them, Brian Hammett said. Although the result didn't go our way, the performance was excellent. No one outside the home dressing room expected us to get anything out of the match, and there is no doubt that Dulwich are by far the best team I've seen this season. The lads did everything we asked of them, and we began to cause them all sorts of problems in the second half. The penalty was a real game-changing moment. I think that performance would have been good enough to beat most of the mid to lower table teams. The match took some time to spark into life, but the visitors took the lead on 25 minutes when the outstanding Oztumer picked up the ball in midfield and surged forward before unleashing a low 20-yard shot which took a wicked deflection to leave keeper Noel Imber with no chance. Oztumer then headed in Lodge's cross to double the lead 7 minutes later. But Town were handed a numerical advantage 2 minutes before half-time, as Lodge saw red for lashing out at Hope after the home striker had fouled him. The hosts made the most of their extra man as they came storming back in the second period, with Hope heading in Tyler Campbell's cross on 56 minutes, before Olondo smashed in his first league goal for the club 5 minutes later. But with the outcome still in the balance, the decisive moment came with 10 minutes remaining, as Oztumer jinked his way through the defence before unleashing a shot which was handled on the line by Kirby, who was promptly sent off. Oztumer scored the penalty, and Vidal sealed Dulwich's win with a ferocious 20-yard shot on 87 minutes, before Campbell reduced the deficit 2 minutes later with a confident low finish from the edge of the box. Interviews will be taking place as Town look to appoint a permanent successor to Newing.
2 daughters have paid tribute to their mother, who died after being left with a broken leg for 5 days. Lydia Riddler, 99, suffered the injury after being poorly lifted and possibly dropped by staff at the Woodbury Grove Residential Care Home in Wellington Road, Bush Hill Park, on April 6, 2011. The injury was eventually spotted by her daughter Rita, and she was taken to hospital. She died 15 days later. Daughter Jo Clark of Waltham Cross said, "She was a very strong old girl in her life. She'd been through a lot, but during the final few weeks of her life, she was failed by the care home manager." Manager of the care home, Sheila Reddy, 61, of Arlington Road, Southgate, attempted to cover up the injury by telling workers not to report the incident. Mrs. Reddy was fined and given a suspended prison sentence on November the 11th for her part in the cover-up. Daughter Rita described how she'd realised her mother's leg was broken. She said, "Jo and I would, between us, visit every day, and I first noticed a small bruise on her face. I came back the following day, and it had turned into a huge bruise on her face, and this is when I realised things weren't right. After that, we discovered she was screaming in pain when she was standing, and I saw that her leg was in a terrible way. I called an ambulance, and she was taken to hospital straight away. The manager claimed that no incidents had been reported, but we could see that they had been covered up with correction fluid. The care home manager was ordered to pay £3,000 to Enfield Borough Council, but Mrs. Clark said she couldn't believe the sentence wasn't more severe. She said she has not once said sorry to us in 2 years about the way she treated my mother. The girls who cared for her here were lovely and made her feel very comfortable in her 6 years there, but she was massively let down by the manager. We still miss her so much. I still can't bear to think about what happened to her at the end.
What a sad story. John Bricknell and Billy Jones both scored twice as Enfield 1893 romped to a 4-0 win at home to Clapton in the Essex Senior League on Saturday. These, looking to bounce back from their FA Bars exit the previous weekend, suffered an early setback when Jamie Hayward was carried off with a serious-looking leg injury after just 2 minutes. However, the hosts shrugged this off as they took complete control of the match, and they were rewarded for their enterprise with the opening goal on 50 minutes as Bricknell scored from the spot after Robin Evans had been tripped in the box. John Leachman, Evans and Joe Bricknell all went close to extending the advantage prior to the interval, but they were denied by a succession of good saves from visiting goalkeeper Pete Diagne. The second goal eventually arrived in the opening minutes of the second half as John Bricknell latched on to a fine through ball from Jake Giddings and calmly slotted it into the net. Diagne continued to keep Clapton in the game as he made 2 more fine saves to thwart Jones, but Enfield finally secured the victory with 17 minutes remaining.
We have reached the end of our programme for this week. Thank you for listening. So from the team of Audrey, Phil, Sonia, myself and Keith on the controls, it's goodbye. Please remember to turn over the address label in your postal packet, put the cassette into the packet and return it to us as soon as possible, in readiness for the next edition. Don't forget you can call Diane de Jersey regarding any help you may require in connection with Enfield Talking Newspaper. The Enfield Talking Newspaper will be with you again in 1 week's time.